Hi everybody. Here's an introduction to our next Vectorworks lab project, which is uh, doing some lighting design functionality. You have this template in Drive. You also have a PDF assignment document, which is good to read through, but I'm basically going to show you everything here, and if you follow along, you will be done with the project at the end. So here we go. When you open your template file, you'll see something like this. It's a plan of Weber Theater. And in that plan of Weber Theater, I've drawn this blue rectangle, which indicates an area that I want you to fill with a wash of light shooting from front of house. So zoom out again. From these lighting positions, front of house 1, front of house 2. So we're going to make a front light wash. So that's a system of multiple lighting fixtures that work together to blend across the whole stage and replicate the same lighting effect no matter where you are within that rectangle in this case. So I'll show you how to do that, but first we're going to do the other aspect of the lab, which is plotting a special. So a single lighting fixture that does a single thing for a particular moment in a show. For the special, I've given us a window and a person. And our job is to, here, I'll rotate my plan. So this is a 3D plan of the theater. So if I rotate, you can see maybe a little more clearly. We have a window here, and we have a person in front of that window. So we want to shoot light from upstage through that window and then light that person with it. So, it's like it's sunlight hurts moonlight. Pretty common lighting design problem to solve. I'm going to go back to my top plan view here. Okay, so to get started, we need, first of all, to make sure we have all our palettes that we need to use for lighting design. So you're going to need the resource manager. If you don't have it showing yet, go to Window, then Palettes, and then check off Resource Manager. And then we're going to need to find our way to the lighting toolset. So in the toolsets palette, it's this icon that looks like a stage light. Hover over it, it says lighting. Click on that, and here are your lighting design specific tools for Vectorworks. The first one we will use is the focus point tool. Here it is. Click on that. Then also make sure you're in the focus points class. So in this template, there are a bunch of classes here. There's one for focus points that will give you a good line type for focus points. So click on that to activate it. And I'm going to hover my cursor with the focus point tool selected, snap to the middle of my person, and click, and it'll pop up a window to make this focus point. Mine is going to be called person. Call it whatever you want. Just don't use letters in the alphabet. It's common to do so, but we're going to use letters for the focus points for the next aspect of the project, making the wash. So type in something different here. For focus height, 5'6" usually works out because for average range of heights that people are, 5'6" is right around eye and shoulder height, which is what we're most worried about lighting typically in the average situation. So we're going to leave that like that and say OK. And there's our focus point. Now we need to hang a lighting fixture virtually in this 3D model and turn it on and see how it works. So I could go to the lighting instrument tool here, but the quicker way, because that may or may not be the right lighting symbol, quicker way is it'll just automatically turn on that tool if I go to Resource Manager and pick the symbol I want to use. So there are symbols embedded in your template file for you. If you go to Resource Manager and under Open Files drop-down menu, select the file that you are working on. So select that template file, and it'll populate this window with all these symbols. Here are the lighting symbols we're working with. just for the sake of being wrong, so that I can show you how to compare different beam angles, I'm going to pick one that's probably way too wide, like a 50-degree source 4. So if I double-click that, it automatically activates that symbol and activates the lighting instrument tool. See it selected there. So now my cursor turns into that kind of lighting symbol, and I can just decide where to put it. Now I could decide just by kind of guessing, trying to line it up. Where do I think it needs to be? I have 2 pipes to work with. It needs to be somewhere around here. So I could do that and try it out. But here's a trick that makes it a little more foolproof. Before going to insert my symbol, I'm going to get the line tool. And I'm going to hover and snap to the center of my focus point and click to start my line and extend my line through the middle of my window and long enough upstage that it intersects with both of the lighting positions that are available to me. So everywhere you see one of these long skinny rectangles that are labeled either first, second, or third electric, or first, second, or third front of house, so here are the front of house positions, these are all places I can hang lights from. So if I draw that line, that shows me and gives me a snappable object, every place that a lighting fixture could go where it will have the right plan angle to hit through the window and hit the person also. So now I can go back to my lighting instrument tool and try them out. Which one do I think is going to work? I'll try second electric first. I'm going to zoom way in so I can snap to the center of the lighting position. That helps ensure that Vectorworks will automatically attach the lighting fixture to this pipe and put it 20 feet over the stage instead of on the floor. If I click once, that pins the lighting fixture in place, and then I can rotate my cursor to get the angle right. And I can, again, because I drew that line, I can snap to that line to get the angle just exactly perfect. Click again, and it inserts my symbol. Now I can go over to Object Info Palette and see all the new things that have shown up there. We're not going to worry about most of this right now. We're going to go most of the way down to where there's this focus field and click in that text box and type in the name of the focus point you used. Person in my case. Hit enter. Now that lighting fixture is aimed at that focus point. Now if I scroll up a little bit, this draw beam checkbox was previously grayed out. Now it's not, and I can check it off and my beam of light will show up. It's really big. It's totally the wrong beam angle for this, because notice how much extra light is on either side of the window, so I'm going to waste a lot of that light when I use the shutters on the lighting fixture to cut a bunch of light off. So I'm going to fix that later. But I want to show you one more thing near draw beam first. Right now it's showing the beam at the focus point. So if I go to like a side view, right side, you can see my cursor is at the floor right now. Here's the floor, so it's only showing the beam, that oval of light, 5.5 feet off the floor. If I want to see also where it lands all the way to the floor, I can pick focus and fall off point. And I also need to adjust the fall off distance to be the same height as my focus point. It's a little glitch in Vectorworks, it doesn't do that automatically. So it should be 5'6", enter. Now it's showing me top line here is the beam size at the focus point, bottom line is where it lands on the floor, right? If I go back into plan view, I can see both of those ovals, and it gets a little confusing, especially when the beam's that big. Okay, so I know this is way too big, so first thing I can do is replace this lighting symbol with a different symbol, a different lighting fixture with a narrower beam angle. So this has a 50-degree lens, so roughly this angle here of this cone of light is 50 degrees. That's way too big. I've got other options. So if I scroll down in Object Info with that lighting symbol selected, I can find Replace Lighting Device and click that button. And it brings up sort of another version of the Resource Manager where I can, again, go to my open document and find something smaller. I think probably it needs to be much smaller, so I'm going to go with a 19-degree source 4. So that'll be a much narrower beam. Double click it, and it replaces that fixture for me. That's looking good. If I'm not sure and I want to try again, I can just Control or Command Y, or Z, sorry, Z to undo, Y to redo, and I can just go back and forth comparing as much as I want till I'm sure. Alright, so that seems like it might work in plan view, but I do need to check from a side view to make sure. So go to my View menu up at the top and say right side perhaps. And now I see something's kind of wrong here, because my beam of light is hitting the person head to toe pretty much, but not the window. Here's the window. I'm only hitting a little less than half of the window. So either I need a wider beam, or more likely what's going to work best is if I move my fixture upstage. So back to plan view, I can just drag and drop. I'm going to zoom in as I do this, again, so I can center the lighting fixture right on this hanging position, right on this pipe. And I've got that line still to snap to. So that's handy. Snap it right there. So it's redrawn my beam with that new geometry because it's coming from a different place now. Let's go back to a right side view again and see how we did. That's getting better, really close, right? Just a little bit of the bottom of that window isn't getting filled with light. But also there's a lot of light above my person and maybe their feet aren't quite being lit either. So I bet what I need to do is just cheat a little bit with my focus point. Here's what I mean. Go back to plan view. Sometimes this happens. I can just grab my focus point and hold my click and just drag it, and I still have this line I can kind of snap to a little bit. Just going to drag it like there. And look again from the side view. So I dragged it closer to the window. That means the lighting instrument is actually tipping down a little bit in its focus. Close, but not quite. Got better. I'm going to try again, back to plan view. Drag it even more towards the window. Check again, right side view. There we go, now I'm hitting it, but I could go even further to get perfectly centered, so I will. Plan view, drag it even closer. So even though I'm dragging it off of my person, that beam of light is big enough to still light them well, actually better even. Back to the right view again. There we go. That's looking great, right? I'm centered on my window. I'm pretty centered on my person. I'm lighting both at the same time. So that's exactly what I want. And I think my special is done. Okay. So now I'm going to delete my line. Don't need that anymore. What else don't I need? I'm going to turn my beam off again. So I'll select my lighting instrument symbol again and go in Object Info and uncheck the draw beam because I'm done with it for now. It would get too cluttered if I left all the beams turned on in my light plot. Okay. Now we're ready to do the wash. So for the wash, I would like to just refer you to a video that I made for Intro to Lighting Design already. It will not include this blue rectangle or your little guy here and your window, but it's another plan of Weber Theater. If you follow along, I plot in that video a front light wash And I also plot a side light wash after that. Ignore the side light wash, but follow along for the front light. And when you're done, you will have filled up your blue rectangle. It's pretty well explained in that video, I think. Okay, I'll see you next time.